So this week in political perspective, and as always, if you ain't political, you do not have a perspective. So some of the highlights of this week, and I'm going to start with something that I thought would never happen, which is I agreed with Donald Trump this week,
Uh-oh.
and I could not believe myself that I agree with Donald Trump. And you may be sitting there asking, what exactly did you agree with Trump about? Tariffs or, um, whatever he's doing in terms of firing, people in the Justice Department, things of that nature. And Mr. Trump made a statement this week that I actually absolutely agree. He said that his supporters are stupid. He said, and I absolutely agree with Trump that your supporters are stupid. So how did I get to this? So this week, and this was most of last week, and also this week, you have the Epstein files. Now, folks who aren't that connected in politics may be asking, like, what is important about these Epstein files? I'm sure everybody's heard of it. Um, but why is this important? And not to get too into the weeds about it, but the Epstein files, and Jeffrey Epstein is a convicted pedophile who has been the kind of the person that people point to. Well, the person that MAGA points to um, that they feel like there's a conspiracy kind of theory involving the Democrats and involving elite people in the government, and Jeffrey Epstein is supposed to have been the the central figure in this, and it's actually a talking point and a reason why a lot of people voted for Donald Trump. Is Trump made these statements about being able to like drain the government and drain the swamp of all of this wrongdoing. So a lot of Republicans, a lot of MAGA look at Jeffrey Epstein and everything that's happened with him being a well connected person in the 90s and the early 2000s, and having all of these connections, financier, has portfolios, dealt with a lot of people's money, and was famously a friend of Donald Trump. He was kind of like the flag that MAGA kind of held up as Jeffrey Epstein has is the key to this notion that the Democrats and powerful people are pedophiles. So it's actually been a conspiracy theory that Trump and his supporters have kind of kicked around for the last few years. Now, what's interesting is there's some facts, there's some fiction, and then there's just some bold-faced lies. So some of the facts about Jeffrey Epstein is that he was convicted of being a pedophile, of um, having an underage, kind of running a prostitution ring in Florida, and he was convicted of this in 2005, and he ended up being sentenced in 2008. And there was something like, I think, 60 young underage women that it was found that he had inappropriate sexual encounters with. Jeffrey Epstein was only sentenced to 18 months. So that kind of like started this the thought that Jeffrey Epstein is maybe much more connected to be able to only get 18 months for over 60 young women, right? Did 18 months, and he did 18 months in a very kind of unusual fashion where he only spent the night in jail. He was able to pretty much go back and forth to his office. They would drive him, pick him up from jail, take him to his office. He would work there, then they would bring him back. He paid for the correctional officers to actually transport him to and from work. He paid for them to be in suits, so it made it appear that they were just like security or people that worked for him. and he was given like all of this privilege, and that kind of started. Well, why is this happening, right? So that kind of like is what started it. Fast forward, that's '05. Fast forward to 2019, and Jeffrey Epstein is now he's now being charged with federal crimes. So in Florida, it was state crimes. He got convicted, but now the feds took on this case. And Jeffrey
Mhm.
Epstein was, he was arrested, didn't actually go to trial, and he committed suicide. So now all of these things surrounding his death and his life is now people have come out and said that there's some conspiracy floating around here. In 2019, President Trump was still president. And he died on President Trump's watch. So we may hear President Trump say some things that are absolutely incorrect about Jeffrey Epstein, when he says things like Barack Obama, Joe Biden had something to do with the Epstein case, with all of the information surrounding it. However, in '05, Bush was president, and in 2019, Donald Trump was president. All of this seems to be catching up to Donald Trump and MAGA, because they don't know how to respond to a conspiracy theory that they created on their own.
Right.
And now that they are kind of demanding to produce the goods, they don't have any goods. And it appears that all of this time they were using this conspiracy theory to get support from people who, in their mind, they're like, all these things are going on in the government. We need to figure out what's going on. In their mind is a whole bunch of Democrats on there, not Trump, although Trump was admittedly best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It's kind of weird. But now that Trump is back in power, now his
Mhm.
folks is like, where's the spying list? Where's all of that? And now Trump wants it to disappear, and all it's doing is gaining more traction, gaining more legs. And at some point, someone's going to have to answer, just for this whole conspiracy. Which I'm a sucker for a good conspiracy. I'm a sucker for a good conspiracy theory. But one of the things that people don't kind of realize about MAGA is they actually live, breathe, and believe this stuff.
Can I pause
So,
you real quick?
yes,
Pause
sir.
real quick. So I saw a statement and I didn't do the legwork to verify if it was true. Did Trump make a statement, and I'm gonna butcher the statement, but I think once I start, you'll understand what I'm trying to get to, where he alluded to Epstein being one of his best friends and them liking the same type of women, and him actually saying that some of the women are younger. Is that a real statement?
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute real statement that Trump made about Epstein, about them running in the same the same social circle, and
Okay.
Trump actually made that statement. Um, but it's not off course on what Trump thinks about women anyway, right? But what is interesting is, for Trump to have so much baggage surrounding women, it appears to not affect his base and his supporters. I think Trump has like 30 or 40 women that have sued him for sexual assault.
Teflon Don.
So yeah,
Teflon
I
Don.
mean, yeah, so I mean, it's interesting that people, kind of feel like his base feels like Trump is the person to be able to kind of save the country from, these bad people, simultaneously kind of dismissing his own bad behavior, which
Yes.
kind of speaks to how kind of ridiculous all this is. But yeah, apparently he was friends. He was best friends. Like, describe his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein as being best friends for over 10 years. But what he would say is that their friendship fractured at some point, and they went their separate ways, and he had no more contact with him. Um,
Hmm.
However, there are plenty of pictures, there are plenty of videos. But Trump has said a whole bunch of like cringy stuff and has done cringy stuff. To think that he is the champion of women's rights, and it's kind of like a ridiculous, just MAGA cult like behavior. But
Real quick, let me ask you this. I don't know if you saw, but if you did, and I can explain it. Stephen A. Smith was on with, was it Cuomo brother? Was it one of the Stephen A. Smith was on with someone, and he mentioned that he didn't understand why the American people cared so much about the Epstein files.
You're a Republican. If you're the GOP, I mean, the big, beautiful bill was just passed. Even though the deficit is going to escalate from 3.3 trillion over 5 trillion, assuming you believe the Congressional Budget Office and all of this other stuff. I mean, with all of these things that's going on, with the 2017 tax cuts reserved, with so much stuff that's going on that the left didn't want to happen, that you on the right said you wanted to happen, with the borders being closed, supposedly that being handled, with migrants being escorted out of this country in droves, according to you, and what you wanted, you're in an uproar off the Epstein list. That's all you've got. It's really, really surprising that this matters. Of course, I think there's a list, but I don't know. I suspect, but I have no knowledge, nor do I care. It's Friday night. I'm getting ready to go out and enjoy myself. I'm getting ready.
And I saw he's been getting some pushback. There's been a lot of pushback about, him making that statement and him being kind of tone deaf on why the American people wouldn't care about our politicians or people who have influence being involved in child sex trafficking. Do you think we care too much as Americans about the Epstein files, or do you think, no, we have the appropriate level of care?
so I think it's two things going on. I think that the people that care are Republicans and Trump's base. I don't think Democrats, and the reason why I say that is because Biden was in office, from 2020 to 2024, and there was no conversation about these Epstein files.
Okay.
Right? He was arrested in 2019. He died in 2019, and Biden's administration, there was no appetite for this. This is strictly a MAGA thing, and this is so. I don't think the average Democrat, or the average person really cares much about it. I think that MAGA cares about it because it's one of those topics that has been used to mobilize them. That it's been used to get them motivated to go to the polls. Let's put Trump in.
He ran on it. He ran on it.
Yeah, he ran on it. And now they feel like you have to deliver. And if you're not delivering, then what is the reason? What is the reason why? Why is it that Jeffrey Epstein was the only person to be convicted of any crimes? Well, his madam, she apparently got 20 years. But only Jeffrey Epstein, only her. And his social circle, what people are saying is his social circle kind of lends itself to him having more kind of seedy things going on. And yeah, but they ran on it. So because they ran on it, now it's an issue for them. I don't think it's an issue for everyone. But now, because there's so much pushback and, now no information is coming out, and then Trump is giving like bizarre kind of answers, and it's interesting that his folks have been kind of notoriously accepting of Trump's kind of like lies and his nonsense, that this is kind of like the line that they're drawing in the sand. Trump says stuff like, Obama's birth certificate and, stuff like, the country of origin is going to pay the tariffs and just like all kinds of stuff that you have to be oblivious not to know that these things are just not true. And this is the thing that, has really kind of drawn a line for them because it's something that he promised them. What I think is interesting is like I said, Trump's kind of answers to it is just very bizarre. It's very bizarre. and very kind of deflective, to say something about Obama or Biden when this
Yeah.
was clearly
Yeah.
happened, and it could be.
Definitely a
And
deflection.
and someone said that maybe Trump is just old. That was their like
That's the
defense.
bailout. That's
And I
the
was like,
bailout.
nah. I'm like,
Yeah.
nah. Yeah. I'm like, and because if Trump like tries to play dumb
Yeah.
a lot,
When it's convenient.
right, when it's convenient. But a couple days ago, he said that he took an IQ test and aced it, and
Of
said
course he
that
did.
Ted McCrockett and AOC couldn't pass his test, and he aced
Yeah.
it. But you don't know who was president in 2019. So yeah, it's all just a deflection. But this story has been going on for about a week and a half, and normally Trump is able to deflect things far enough away that this stuff doesn't stick. But it doesn't look like his folks are gonna let up.
What do you think ends up happening? Do you think we get the list, or he just holds strong and we never get a list?
So I actually don't think that it is a list.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think it's a list. And the reason why I say that is because in the world of leaks, I just don't think that that's something that can be corralled.
You think it would have
But
came out by
yeah,
now?
especially it spanned over multiple administrations. So
Yeah,
it happened.
that's
It
true. That's a
happened.
good
Yeah, it
point.
happened in Florida, and then the first Trump administration through the
Yeah.
Biden administration, and now Trump administration. I just don't think that people have that type of loyalty anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think would have been leaked. I think that it will be a defining moment for MAGA where hopefully they realize that they are stupid. Hopefully they realize that they are stupid. This might be the moment that they actually realize it.
Hopefully so. So a podcast I listen to is Flagrant with Andrew Schultz, comedian, popular podcaster. He recently made some comments about how Trump is not delivering on any of the things that he promised, and that's why he voted on him. So he expressed some disappointment. So hopefully there are more people who share that sentiment and is able to see the light that this guy is a charlatan and only is out for self and people who are wealthy like him to take advantage of the government to make money for themselves. Still want to know what happened fully with Elon Musk. He's been kind of quiet. But well, as the world turns with this, we'll see what's going on, and we'll see progressively how policies that he's put in place with his authority will affect the American people. I'm still seeing stuff about how the big, beautiful bill will impact us. But yeah, we'll keep you posted. Reggie, appreciate that political perspective. It's always important to keep our listeners informed.
Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.